Hello, everyone. Let me share my
Siddharth,
screen. Yeah,
Siddharth,
ma'am.
how are you,
How are you?
Siddharth?
I'm doing good, ma'am. How are you?
You're doing fine, fine, fine. At last you reached there,
Yeah.
settled.
Settling. It's taking some time, but settling slowly.
Okay.
One second.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Shweta, currently doing my third year B.Tech CFIS in the Department of CSC in Dr. NGR Educational and Research Institute. In this moment, I remember one of Paley's quote: "Success is no accident. It is hard work, perseverance, learning, studying, sacrifice, and most of all, love what you are doing or learning to do." This says that success does not come easily or by chance. It requires consistent hard work, continuous learning, and a willingness to sacrifice. The importance of having a love for what you are doing or learning to do. This is what gives you the motivation and drive to keep going even when things get tough. With that, I thought of welcoming everyone gathered here for Alumni Interaction Series 19 on the title Attackers versus Defenders in the Real World by our distinguished alumni. I'm so grateful to welcome our HOD ma'am, Dr. S. Geeta. Welcome, ma'am. And I extend a special gratitude for our guest speaker of the day, Mr. G. Siddharth, Security Analyst, Valiant International, Saudi Arabia, from M.Tech-ISCF 2012 batch. Welcome, sir. I want to express my sincere gratitude to all of you for being here today. Thank you for joining us. I look forward to seeing all that we can
And
accomplish
the amount
together.
bill.
Now I request our HOD, Dr. S. Geeta, to address the gathering.
Thank you, Ma. Thank you. Really, I'm very happy to have Siddharth as a guest speaker of today's session. They're all proud alumni. And I met him 1 month before he just go to Saudi Arabia. He's having a lot of content with this with him. He was expert in cyber security domain, no doubt, no doubt. He's the first person gotten a placement when he was the student over here in the company. Later, he also referred many of our students in his company where he and all got an opportunity to just refer our students. And today topic also, it's a very nice topic, attackers versus defenders. There itself, the topic itself very vibrant. So I hope this session would be useful for entire CFA students. Since we have cyber B.Tech cyber forensic and information security, and MSc BSc information security and cyber forensic, we have many courses in cyber security domain. He may be the right person to just talk about more on this topic, and as well as what is the industry expectations in with respect to cyber security, as well as our students in mind. So I'm requesting Siddharth not only to share this particular topic, and I really, we need your real time um, uh, experience to share with our students what's industry expectation in this, because since it is a specialized domain, your words are much powerful than us when the student as a viewer. Since you are all working in the industry, you may be the right person to what is the industry expectation, what they will, what kind of a job they will be getting it, where and all the opportunities are available. This kind of exploration is always needed for our students. So I'm requesting Siddharth to share this perspective too.
Sure,
Really,
ma'am.
thank you. Thank you. Really, I'm
I've
very,
little bit aligned my session in that way. Hopefully, it will be useful for everyone.
yes, because we insisted all cyber forensic students to join in this. Every time
Okay.
when just arrange a placement opportunity, they told me, Madam, why don't you bring a placement in terms of cyber security domain itself? We are trying our best, but apart from that, what kind of an opportunities are available at outside, that information is much needed for them. So
Yeah, sure.
if you could share this kind of an information, we will be very happy. And once again, with respect to our Department of Computer Science and Engineering, I'm very happy to welcome you for this alumni series. Really, alumni are the pillar of support for our department, whatever we do. So today, Siddharth is also joining with us. So thank you, Siddharth, and welcome you again.
Yeah, thank you so much, ma'am. I'm also looking forward for this wonderful session. Um, so with that note, I'll just begin my session. Hope everybody can see my
One,
screen.
thank,
I
thank
don't
you so
see
much,
my
Siddharth.
introduction.
With this, I ask Srinivarsini from B.Tech CFIS second year to give an introduction about today's speaker.
Sure.
Our beloved speaker, Mr. G. Siddharth sir, is a cybersecurity professional with over 6 years of experience to have worked with key players in the field of telecommunications, banking, e-commerce, performing threat hunting, SIEM monitoring and response, static code review, evaluating risk, performing VAPT to improve organizational security posture, and directly reporting to stakeholders. Now, he is seeking for new opportunity that challenges his abilities and helps him learn new technologies while putting his experience to good use towards building a robust cyber infrastructure. He did his M.Tech in Information Security and Cyber Forensic during 2012 to 2014 in Dr. M.G.R. Educational and Research Institute, University, Chennai, where he published Tracking Digital Devices and Collecting Evidence for Cyber Investigation paper in IJRCAR Scopus Journal. He completed CES V8 training from EC Council in 2014. He got certified in payment card industry security implemented by SISA in 2014, information security and ethical hacking from Pristine Info Solution in 2014, system security certified practitioners from ISC2 in 2017, certified hacking forensic investigator from EC Council in 2018. He worked as an associate consultant in SISA Information Security Private Limited, Mumbai from May 2014 to 2015. He also worked as an executive in information security at Grupo Bancasella, Chennai from February 2015 to May 2018. He also worked as an expert engineer MDRL3A in Palladium Networks, Bangalore from June 2018 to October 2020, where he started his journey as a senior investigator for 40 plus global clients for incident response, and then he has promoted to SOC lead for handling 10 plus technical demanding critical USA clients. He also worked as a development engineer in Comcast India Engineering Center, Chennai from November 2020 to December 2022, where he conducted threat hunts based on TTP, Intel's hypothesis, threat actor behavior, and he currently working as SOCL3 in Palladium International Riyadh, Saudi Arabia from February 6, 2023, where he performed security monitoring and incident response. To add more feathers to his cap, he received several appreciations from Italian counterparts for technical competencies in 2017. He also recognized as Rising Star of Quarter 2018, Firefighter of the Quarter 2018, CEO Club in 2018, Rockstar of the Quarter in 2019, Top Initiative of the Year in 2019, Certificate of Excellence in 2019, Wall of Fame in 2021, You Nailed It on 2021, Top Performer on 2022, Team Shining Stars in 2022, Spotlight Camp Award in 2022, and so on. We once upon welcome you, sir.
Thank you so much for the warm welcome.
Thank you, Srivasni. And now I hand over the session to Mr. G. Siddharth sir to deliver his talk.
Sure, thank you for the opportunity. So today's topic is attackers versus defenders in real world. So what I'd be basically covering is how attackers play in the internet and what as a security professional we do in order to protect our environment or our organization from against the attackers, and also what all tools we use, though I'll not be taking any real tools as a walkthrough because I don't have any access right now. But I will be sharing some of the screenshots of the tools that I have used in the past and walk through how we use them to protect the organization, and also how the career development for a cybersecurity is and what is the starting step for that. So with that say, let me begin my presentation. So, so Cyrix, covered myself, so I'm not going to talk about me again. So the takeaways for from the
Uh,
today's session is,
Siddharth sir, sorry
yeah,
to interrupt. Can you just switch
sure.
on your video once?
Oh, sure, sure, sure. I forgot. Hope you can see me.
Yes, yes.
Okay, cool.
You proceed.
Yeah. So what you would be getting away from today's session is the gist of what cybersecurity is and what are the threats that are there out, and what is the role of a professional in terms of cybersecurity, and who are the threat actors out there, and what we do from different perspective of professional cybersecurity experts in the domain in the organization, and what are different domains in place in which different concepts come in place for protecting an organization standpoint, and different tools and what are the features of it and what speciality of those tools are, and which companies actually are looking out currently, and a career path that you have to set. So this would be the basic agenda of it, and now that said, we'll go to the next. So starting with cybersecurity. So it's just to protect a privacy of a person or to protect a data of any organization, or protecting an asset of the organization from a threat adversary. So threat adversaries are nothing but people who, with bad intentions, come and hack into systems and steal data or deface a website. All those bad activities are something which the threat actors out there do, and cybersecurity is something to protect the organization from them. And nowadays, since everything is moved to digital world, cybersecurity is actually a basic requirement for an organization to do business. And earlier, it was like that is one of the aspect that they have to consider. And right now, it's come to a level where cybersecurity is a mandatory requirement for a organization to do business in the internet. And what are the threats that we know that are actually being performed on any organization or any particular thing that is exposed in the internet? So I am sure you all should come across these words in your syllabus. So malwares, DOS, phishing, hacking, 0 days. So out of these, like 0 days are something which is more and and that has to be like taken care of immediately because that would create a more serious damage to any organization. So these are different types of threats that are out there, and our primary motto of a cybersecurity professional is to like mitigate these threats and control them from being exploited in an organization. So how we do that and why we do that is what we're going to see. So why there is a need for a cybersecurity? So that's a $1 million question. And when we talk about it, so in the last year and in the statistics of last few years, it is very alarming that cybersecurity breaches are keep on increasing in a very big way. And right now there is a very much need for security professionals to mitigate them. So what has happened in the past? So let's see that. So first of all, like a breach can actually cause a major portion of a company's budget to go down for mitigating that. So which is actually impacting a company's business. So that's one of the main key reason for having a security team within an organization to control that uh, loss of money or loss of time for an organization to deal with any cyber breach post that happens. And then in 2022, it was said that compromised credentials were one of the key factor for getting into an organization. So attackers tend to like steal username, password, or the two-factor authentication of the end users within an organization, and then use that to like breach into an organization. And then 62% of the incidents in the system intrusion pattern followed compromising partner accounts. So it is not that just by hacking a particular company can get in. So if that company is actually dealing with some partnering service with another company, so getting attacked or getting breached or getting into the other company can lead you into the parent company as well. So all these different types of attacks were been successful in last previous years, where the attackers were able to steal a lot of money and cause a lot of damage, and which in turn costed a lot of cost for getting out of the incident for those companies. So it is predicted that by 2025, the cost of cybercrime to be mitigated will go up till 10.5 trillion. So definitely there is a thing that cybersecurity professionals are very much required to minimize that expectation and minimize the attack vectors on any organization. So this is one of the reason why you need to become a security professional. So why we are there is for protecting the IT infrastructure, security device, networks, data, and user information, etc. on any given company, and to also prevent data breaches from happening. So how we do that is either proactively monitoring threats or simulating threat actor behavior and identifying gaps and working on it. And the main goal of a cybersecurity professional is to like build good security posture of a company and make sure that there is no loopholes through which attacker can easily come in, and then work on interesting things which no other domain has. So these are different things. And now we come to the actual attackers. So there is a very small line that is drawn between an attacker and a defender. That small line is the what do we say, it's the motto of the activity that is being done. If an attacker is doing the same set of steps, but the motto of him is to gain fame or gain financial benefit out of it, then he becomes a bad actor or a adversary. But rather than if somebody is doing the same set of activities to build better posture or controls implemented for organization to safeguard from threats, then he becomes a ethical hacker or a ethical cyber expert. So the dark side of the force is someone who is actually having bad intentions and attacking the target with a motto to steal money or to steal sensitive data for further use or damage a reputation of the company. And all these things are basically done by threat actors or an adversary. And there are different types of hackers or threat actors, and those are hacktivism, crime, insider, espionage, terrorism, and warfare. So insider is something that is very new and very gray area in any organization, because there are not that much of security tools or there is not that much of visibility inside an organization where they could suspect that okay, this person is having a bad intention. So right now that is a gray area, and there is not that much of visibility into finding an insider threat. But there are some workarounds for doing that right now. But these are different types of threat actors out there who are actually looking for their targets each and every second. And in the past, in last 3-4 years, these are different types of attacks that have happened and caused a lot of damage for the companies. So let's say we'll go from 2020. So first would be the Twitter hack. So where the attacker actually had done a phishing I'm sure you all know phishing attacks. So phishing is nothing but throwing a vague message and getting some information out of it and use that information to do further attacks. So likewise, for people who are working in Twitter, the attackers were actually doing phishing using phone, where through which successful information from the phone they received from the internal employees, which allowed them to steal 118,000 worth of bitcoins. And then they also were able to access the internal management system, because some of those users who led out their credentials were all administrators. So that was a very big major outbreak. And next would be the solar winds. So solar wind is nothing but uh, a vendor, a partner vendor who's having accounts with multiple organization who are into releasing patches, releasing different types of solutions for their vendors in order to like run their business smooth. But what had happened was the attacker was able to like infiltrate SolarWinds, which is a tool through which patch management is being done in most of the company, and they have actually put in some shell script in that patch. And once the other companies which are actually servicing from the solar winds were updating their patches, those shells were also being delivered to that end company, and through which data were all exfiltrated from different companies. And this was a very major attack that happened, because a lot of big Fortune 50 companies were all attacked by this attack. And then in 2021, we had Facebook breach. Like there were known vulnerabilities within the Facebook, which had stored the credentials of username and users in plain text. So an attacker had actually taken advantage of that known vulnerability and hit the database and received all the clear text passwords and just sell them in dark web, so which leaked a lot of users information in the internet, and this was actually a reputation damage of Facebook. And next was a Microsoft Exchange server hack, which was also a 0 day. As I already said, that was the first time that vulnerability was discovered. The thing is that vulnerability was discovered by a bad actor. If it was done by a internal or a cybersecurity professional, they would have patched it and released the updated non-vulnerable version of that patch. But since it was actually discovered by a bad actor, they used that vulnerability for their benefit, and they exploited Microsoft Exchange vulnerability and gained backdoor to the servers, and they were able to like send commands into the servers and get whatever information that they require. So that was actually a major thing, because Microsoft Exchange is being used in all the or most 99% of the companies out there use Microsoft Exchange server for their email box. So you can understand, right? So how serious that threat is. And then in 2022, we had crypto theft, where the attacker was even able to bypass not only the username, but they were able to access the two-factor authentication that the customer or the user had. So if they had a mobile which sends OTP, the attacker was also able to identify what OTP would have been sent for that session, and they used that to access the website, and they were able to retrieve wallet information of users, and which also led to a big Bitcoin mining issue. And then 2023, recently we had a Reddit attack, which was also related to phishing. But this was in this time it was targeted phishing, where they knew who they are attacking, and they had sent the phishing email or a phishing link. Just that it looks very similar to Reddit, and the users who are using that didn't notice that it's a phishing site, and they let their credentials out, and which led for the attacker to infiltrate the Reddit server and gain access to internal documents and codes. So y- we can now understand what the threat actors are doing there. So these types of attacks actually happen every now and then, but there is always a better sophisticated code or sophisticated mechanism that the attacker is able to find for finding or attacking the same vulnerability or similar vulnerability. So they don't sleep, and so cybersecurity experts also doesn't sleep. So they try to keep building better security posture and control any attacks that may happen in future. And now comes the good side of the force, which is the ethical hackers, or the good side of cybersecurity, where professionals sit on the front line and work day and night to like mitigate threats out there. So this is a structure of what cybersecurity profiles look like in any organization. So there will be a lot of roles and a lot of different activities and different verticals of cybersecurity, where a person would be doing different activities to control or mitigate threats in an organization. So there are forensics, there are vulnerability assessors, and there are auditors, there are compliance specialists, and there are analysts who sits day and night and see for what all threats are coming to an organization and investigate them to take appropriate remediations. So whenever somebody starts working in any organization, he would be having assigned one of these roles, and all these roles are very challenging and good. So now let's see how the attackers are actually being safeguarded from the attacks, how the organization is being safeguarded from the attackers. So there are 8 big domains which are bifurcating the cybersecurity domains. So which are nothing but security and risk management, where the risk is assessed within an organization, and based on the assessor's capability of investigating them, the patching and other stuff take place. And then comes the asset security, where any given asset, let's say a laptop or a desktop or a server or any asset that it can be, so there are certain standards and procedures that has to be followed, and with which the asset would be protected from any compromise or any gaps. And then comes the security architecture and engineering, where a company's security posture would be like architectured in a fashion that there are no controls which can be bypassed by an attacker. So always in a cybersecurity controls, there is no one control that can solve a single issue. Sometimes it may be one, sometimes there might be requiring another control to like mitigate any threats that bypass first layer. So it is a layered approach, so that's why there are so many domains which may overlap each other, so that there are certain norms to be followed in each of these domain, which will mitigate any gaps that are identified previously. So some of the risk may be accepted, some of the risk may be mitigated, but it all respects to what the exact controls are in place. So let's see how that is done. And this is a more granular version of these domains, where different activities and different types of methodology with which cyber security is being provided in organization is shown. So it can show you like even user education is very much important. Not that just by having controls it will be safeguarded, but sometimes that user should be aware that this is to be done and this is not to be done. So that user awareness is being also provided by a cybersecurity expert by conducting sessions, by conducting by sending out flyers that these are the password requirement that should be followed, and this is what access you have to provide, or these are the websites that you should access from an corporate machine. So all those things also apply as a cybersecurity expert's job. And yeah, so so when we come to an organization's internal view, like these are different teams with which people will be formed to protect the organization. So the defenders are nothing but people who actually monitor continuously the threats that are coming towards an organization and take remediation steps by applying their knowledge to build better security posture. And the destroyer are nothing but the hackers or an ethical hacker who will be like doing penetration testing on the assets, on the infrastructure, on the network assets or Wi-Fi devices, and then find how those things are responding. And with that, they would be able to take some control measures to mitigate any vulnerability that they find. And comes the enforcers. Enforcers are nothing but security assessors who are like seeing for any compliance issues that the organization may have. So compliance means there are different types of regulations that a business has to follow. For example, if an organization is dealing with payment card or dealing with any financial uh, transactions or financial activities, then there comes a regulation called PCI, which is actually a certifying body saying that okay, these checklists are being met by that business so that they can continue doing the financial transactions and financial activities. So if something goes out of that checklist, or if some of the requirement is not being met by the organization, then that PCI body would not allow them to perform the activities or conduct their business. So these types of regulation like that, even like if for example there is a hospital and that hospital is actually handling the personal informations of patients, then there comes a regulation called HIPAA, healthcare privacy regulation, where that also has several checklists and several methodology that needs to be followed by the business who are dealing with hospital related stuff. Yes, somebody is raising hand. If any question, let me know. Okay, so those regulations have to be met so that the business can be continued. So that is a activity of the enforcer who will be enforcing policies and procedures on an organization. And then the builder. So builders are nothing but any given organization, they would have their own softwares, they will have their own set of codes that they have to run periodically for performing different business activities, right? So this builder is nothing but them, so just a software developer but with a good security knowledge. So a security background oriented coder would have a better understanding of what cybersecurity threats are out there and can build softwares more efficiently and effectively from getting any breaches. So that's the activity of them. And then the crunchers are C-suite people who actually work on allocating budget for cybersecurity, and they would be bringing in new tools, new controls, new measures for building more better posture of security. And they also like has to like put a budget for any breach that may have occurred. So how much time or how much money need to be spent for mitigating those breaches. So all these budget oriented and money oriented activities are being decided by the cruncher. And then comes the intelligence, where machine learning and AI powered tools would come in place for identifying proactively or performing automated way of solving certain problems of cybersecurity. And this also like is part of like analytics with cybersecurity. So let's see something more in that. So the defenders are, as I said, already blue team, which I am part of. Right, most of my career I'm there in blue team. So here what we do is we would be analyzing or building up use cases to find the known threats out there. So let's say that there is a user who's logging in from internet to his mailbox, which is on cloud, and every day he is logging in from, let's say, India, and suddenly there is a abnormal activity by that he is logging in from China. So we would be building up logic in this way to identify threats like that. So logging in from two different places within a very short span is suspicious, right? So we write use cases like these things to build logic and identify a suspicious pattern of user behavior or login behavior or any traffic from unexpected geolocations towards a website or something. So we put in use cases like these and monitor them and analyze what we find as a result of those use cases and take remediation. So other activities that are performed in the company by a blue teamer is they do a vulnerability assessment. and they collect intelligence from various sources which are open source. Most of the intelligence are proprietary based, but some of them are also provided by open source forum. And also like sim. So sim is where like all the logs from various different devices come and fall in one place, so that people can actually like sit on front of it and analyze the logs, seeing, because logs will capture any single activity that has been performed in an environment. So if there is something that is hiding, then that would be the right place for a security expert to find. And whatever they find, it might go as a suggestion for building a new layer of security monitoring on top of it. And the DFIR, which is forensic and incident response, is one of the big team within this blue teaming activity. And forensic, as you know, it's to recover data and identify what has happened in the memory level or in the virtual memory level. And then comes the hunting, which is also like uh, hunting is something looking for a behavior based. So there would not be any known signature before, but there would be a lot of known behavior via which some attacks would have happened. So the hunter would be looking into that aspect to identify potentially suspicious behavior within the environment, and based on that, the investigation goes. And some of the tools used for these are as mentioned there, and I've also given some hyperlinks so you can all try it out. Most of these are not freeware, so I'm not sure how you can use it in your personal environment, but still you can read about those tools and about the functionality, and be aware that these tools are there in order to perform certain activities, so that you can expect that when you go and land in either a blue team, you would be familiar with some of the functionalities or the features, or let's say that main reason for using that tool, you would get that context, and you might be making use of it mostly. And then comes the red team. So red team activities are very interesting. So you have to think like an attacker and be like an attacker, but don't gain any financial motive out of it. Just that you will be hacking systems and reporting any successful attacks, and those successful attacks will actually lead to the controls that are missing in past, and those activities will lead to like filling up gaps, so that whenever certain attacks happen in future, that will be safeguarded by at least a detection rule, or some control can actually block those attacks, something like that will happen. And major activities performed by these red teams are penetration testing, as I already said, and ethical hacking. And social engineering also these days, it's not that only attackers do. Some of the companies also do social engineering by, let's say that there are 1,000 employees working in an e-commerce, and their day-to-day activity, if they are receiving calls from a lot of people, then there will be some simulation of social engineering attacks in that organization. Let's say that the security professional is actually giving a call or sending an email to a particular employee and saying that this is a problem and I need this information to like bypass or mitigate that threat. So if that employee is actually giving out his username and password, then that's the gap, that the user is not aware that what information to give on call and what information is supposed to not be told anywhere to anybody. So those gaps are being identified by social engineering simulation activities, and that is also a key activity nowadays in a lot of big organizations. And exploitation. So exploitation is, as you know, like penetration testing or ethical hacking, there are a lot of different types of hat hackers, right? White hat, gray hat, black hat, and all. So exploitation is nothing but somebody exactly like an attacker who doesn't know anything about that infrastructure is actually trying to like find loops right from scratch, like how attackers would think, and then exploit them. Just that once they exploit the vulnerability, they would be writing a lot of reports saying what are the steps that they have done, and what exactly, how much level of access they got after that exploit, and report them to um, the company so that they would be able to fix them. So these are done by internal employees as a part of activity. And bug bounty is something that it's not that only the internal employee can actually check out these things. There are certain companies would be those would be like signed for bug bounty programs, where people who are doing freelancers or ethical hackers who are actually doing freelancers, they can actually participate on those bug bounty program by what I previously said, for the exploitation, that they would be thinking like an attacker, right? So bug bounty also would be like to think like an attacker and report them to the customer that they are working for and get some money out of it. So that's a program that's been also followed by big companies like Google, Facebook, and Twitter, etc. And tools that are being used are Cobalt Strike, Wireshark, and all of these tools, which all come. Somebody has a question. Okay. So yeah, was I? Yes. So these tools are also like part of these activities, red teaming activity, and some of them are available in Kali Linux. I'm sure most of you would have tried installing that in your VM and trying out stuff. But that's the right place for a red team activity to take place, because in corporate also we would have Kali Linux and Metasploit frameworks installed on servers and use that as a attack medium and attack the test environment where similar to production would be placed, and we would be finding out vulnerabilities from them. And then comes the GRC team, which is the compliance team. As I already said, PCI, HIPAA, FISMA are all regulations. The enforcer or the GRC team would be like governance, risk, and compliance team. What they would do is they would be auditing the the controls in the environment against the regulations that they are following, and anything that stands out or anything that deviates from the requirement, they would be working with the company to like fix or to mitigate those controls. Not necessary that that control may have to be met as what they have prescribed in the regulation, but based on the expertise or based on the suggestion of the cyber expert, other controls can also be in place to overcome that gap. And tools like Nessus. Nessus is actually also a vulnerability scanner, but it has a lot of regulation checklists. Just that in a click of a button, the entire scan could be run. Let's say if PCI audit has to be happening on a company, then either it should be done manually on PCI scoped devices, or they would be like in a company, they would be having different groups where the assets that belong to PCI requirement will be placed, and this Nessus tool would be used where they would point out that particular subnet of IPs and assign the policy to check only PCI regulation or PCI requirement, and that Nessus would be able to like run it automatically. And as the security expert would then review the report that Nessus gives, and then accordingly take action of the gaps that have been identified. And then come the DevSec or DevSecOps team, where actually like the security would be a core consideration in this. So building the product with security in mind right from the start of the SDLC lifecycle. So there are a lot of the certifications and a lot of requirements that has been given in the OASP also. I'm sure OASP you guys should have come across. It's the open forum where it's prescribed what and what not to do in a web application development or a mobile development. So that would be used as an underlying requirement here, and the security would be constructed on top of it on any software that has been developed. And once they develop certain models, they would be running through some automated tools or manual tools to see if there is any bad coding practice or loopholes or any vulnerability, like using non-standard encryption or storing passwords in plain text or not sanitizing user input. All these things would be like checked on by this team. And the CCO team, as I already said, they would be allocating budget for any breaches or any development of the security team within an organization. So they would have to like be aware of all the threats and how threats are being done in the wild, and how much damage that it can cause. All these information should be aware by a CCO professional, and you would be working closely with the financier of the organization to allocate budget and build better security teams and tools. And then comes the AI/ML team, where they build intelligence to softwares or to products that are being used in the organization. Let's say that there are certain cases where remediation or detection is very much required in very swift time. So for those cases, the AI/ML with a security background would be able to build those interface and build those integration with the tools in order to build or take remediation action in no time. So tools like EDR, SIM, XOR are being used for this purpose, and yeah, this is what it's used. And now coming to security. So before that, till now, if there is any question, I can take some questions. Okay, I suppose no question. So let me continue. So we'll see some security tools, how exactly is being used in the companies. So So this is a threat intelligence platform, which is called a Threat Connect. And what the main goal of this tool is to collect all the intelligence from various sources in the internet. So you might be aware of a lot of what to say IOCs, right? Bad IPs, bad hashes, bad file names, bad executables, bad email IDs, bad subject lines. All these are something which we will be collected by a lot of vendors online who might be freelance security experts, or who might be companies dedicated for collecting these information from various sources. So this is such a tool where it will collect those type of information from different places. And when this is being used in an organization, what it can do is, let's say that this tool is integrated with the network or with the log management system in the organization. So manually going through a specific IP or a specific set of bad IPs in the entire logs would be really hard, right? It would take week, it would take months also in sometimes. So this tool will help us to identify those types of IOCs in no time. So if the network comes from a bad IP to internal machine, just in that in that flow itself, this tool would be able to identify that, okay, this IP is reportedly bad and has a very bad reputation. So you might have to check this IP in your environment. So this will alert the security analyst to go and check it further. So these are being used in real time, and this is a very helpful tool that people have in any company for threat intelligence purpose. And next is the TTPs, as I mentioned here. The TTPs are nothing but the threat activity procedures. So there are different types of APT groups. APTs are nothing but adverse threat actors. So what they would do is they would be thinking very hard to go and breach any given infrastructure. So what the tools would do is they will be tracking certain actors, and threat advisories would be shared on them. If you have come across a MITRE framework, that MITRE framework is actually built on top of threat actors. So that organization, the open forum, what they would do is they would be collecting information from various sources, who will be who will be having their main focus as adversary group from China or adversary group from Russia. So these the yeah, the correct word is profile. The profile of a threat actor would be built, and it would be having all the recent behaviors that are being seen from those actor groups. And this platform will be having those information also, so that whenever there is certain new behavior in a threat actor is identified, then this will alert the security team in an organization. So they would be using that information to go and investigate on their environment. So this is one of the major tool being used. And next would be the SOC, SIEM. So which is nothing but security information and event management. So any device that is being connected in an infrastructure would actually generate a lot of logs. So even if you see in your personal laptop, if you would search for Windows event viewer in your machine, you would have a lot of event IDs, and that will actually have a lot of audit information, like who has accessed this machine, what activity he has done, and what time he has done it, and where he has visited, what URLs he has visited. All those information will be collected by any system. Based on the system, the type of information that it collects will differ. So this SOC or SIM is actually used for collecting or gathering data from all the security device or all the devices within an organization, and have it in one place. So on top of that database, a lot of use cases would be built. Like for example, here you if you see alarm, there are different things in bold, right? So these are different use cases. So these use cases would actually have a logic behind it. So if, for example, AV Trojan downloaded detected on server Windows, so this means that the logic behind this is in a server Windows, if there is any Trojan that is being downloaded and flagged by the antivirus as Trojan, then you send me an alert. So once it identifies, or once the logic matches for the events that take place in an machine, then this sim will actually send us an alert. And the analyst who's sitting or monitoring this would have to like go and investigate the alert. Based on the alert, he would be seeing a lot of parameters like check the IP, or check the user, or check the process. And based on that, the investigation, the controls, or the further investigation would be happening to mitigate any threats seen. Okay, and this would be endpoint detection response, which is actually a very key or niche domain where a lot of vendors are actually exploring this aspect of security tool. And this is mainly used for hunting and intelligence. This is of CrowdStrike. The vendor is CrowdStrike. And what this would do is like this would be able to identify the attack behavior. So since this tool is part of an intelligence tool, this intelligence will actually automatically look for that behavior by itself in the organization's data. So these are endpoint tools, like how we have our missions with AV and any other virus scanning tool. Similarly, this particular tool would be installed on all the assets in an organization, and those tools would actually send out logs to the central log collection, and the intelligence will run on top of it based on the behavior that it can see, or based on the process launches that it can see as suspicious. This actually helps to pick out anomalies from the environment. So also this has a machine learning capability, so it can learn from previous alerts. So if like 1,000 machines are having similar behavior, then it might consider that as a expected one. But if one machine out of the 1,000 is actually having a different pattern, then this tool would be giving out the anomaly saying this is deviating from the actual process and you may have to investigate it. So these are all like real time and real case tools that are being used in a lot of companies. And I'm sure you might know this tool. It's Wireshark. You might have tested it, used it also. So this is also used as a full-time tool in companies. And this is mainly used for analyzing the package that flows through one segment to another segment, or from one VLAN to another VLAN. So this actually will identify gaps in weak encryption, or if proper protocols are not being followed. But these things are not used as a regular or day-to-day activity, but this would be one of an activity for a team where they go and check out the network flow and investigate them. So when we see any alert in the sim, like I past said, so in order to investigate that further, those times this type of packet analyzing tool would be like used to drill down further and see what actually the package has and what type of flags are set, and you might know the TCP/IP stack and IPv4, IPv6 stacks, right? So there are a lot of flags which represent different things. So this tool would give us that insight, and we can use this for analyzing the packets. Somebody had a question, I think so. Okay, I'll do that later. Um, Next is the intrusion detection system. So this also sits on the network layer where let's say that Wireshark that we saw earlier has to be manually checked, right? It's a manual tool, so you have to like place the Wireshark in the line of communication and investigate the packet, right? So that's the since because it's manual, it can't be done as a regular interval, or it can't be placed and checked in every single communication. So which is why like we require an automated way also. So that automated way is something called an intrusion detection system. So this sits in the network, and it would be like having the configuration saying any traffic that goes from A to B, consider A as the source and B as the destination. This type of IDS tools will sit in between. So any traffic from A to B has to go through IDS. So when that happens, IDS would have a lot of signatures in it. So if there is any network packet with the signature matching the existing rules within the system, then it would alert us saying something suspicious is detected. So this is on the network layer. If you see this tool, it will give you alerts, right? The Suricata detect only one direction detected. All these are different tools which the vendor has. And apart from this, if you've based on the analysis of your Wireshark, if you find any logic that seems very suspicious, you could also build some rules on top of it. And these types of network tools understand a coding language, or a language called Yara. So Yara is type of a regex pattern where the Yara rule, we would say they call them as Yara rules. So those rules have to be written in regex pattern and then added to the IDS for that, so that next time when a similar traffic goes, it could detect. And then comes something called process investigation, which is used for malware analysis. So this is also a very niche area, malware analysis. Most of the time, a malware analyst would be like working on a lot of binaries and a lot of process, and they would also be helping another internal cybersecurity team to build more control over it. So how is that what malware analysis would be done is, so let's say that SIEM, when we identify that certain process is launching from an unusual path, it can be either legitimate or suspicious. So what the analyst would do is he would go and pick out that machine, and then he would connect into that machine and understand the process workflow. So from where that process came, and what all child process it has, and what are the process IDs that it generates, and different types of users who are accessing that process, and if that process is actually sending out any packets outside of the internet. So all those things would be checked by the malware expert. So based on that, you would collect a lot of intelligence from this investigation. If they conclude that particular process to be like suspicious within that environment, then they would be collecting IOCs like process name, or the hash of the process, or the behavior, which port to port it is communicating. All those information are actually some IOCs which are collected by the internal malware analyst, and then he would be using that to build some logic on the SIEM, so that when next time something happens in that behavior, then it would flag them. And then comes the binary analysis, which is the reverse engineering. So the previous was malware using process, and this was like executable. Like we can get malwares through anywhere, right? So when we download some freewares, we could have some malwares with it. Or if we access some phishing emails, that phishing email can also lead to like downloading of trojans or any unknown malwares. So when something like that is suspected to be suspicious, there comes the reverse engineering team who will be going and putting that executable or the binary in a sandbox environment and then decompile it to understand the code, system codes, how it works and what communication it is creating, and if there is any uh, um, external IP that it refers to, or if any external domain it refers to. So all these things they investigate, and if they conclude to be like safe, then they allow it. If something is very strange from that, then they actually collect IOCs from it, and then they again build a logic on top of it to identify any other suspicious behaviors. And comes the digital forensics. So in real time, digital forensics works when there is any breach happens. So if there is any exfiltration happen from a internal machine, there is not much information. If there is not much information from the logs, or if there is no much information in the network flow, then the digital forensic people come into play. So they disconnect the machine and they use it in a separate sandbox machine, and then they run several tools on top of that to identify the exact behavior of how exactly the data was exfiltrated, or if there are after the exfiltration, if certain logs are being deleted, that deleted logs would definitely have the trails of the attacker. So they go and recover those deleted items from the uh, dynamic memory, and then they identify what is there in the logs, and then they identify if there is any attack vectors that they can see from that. Then they run similar behavior again to the on the infrastructure to identify any other similar pattern they find in the environment, and then accordingly they work on it, and they build they actually find gaps. If that attack vector is something that no security tool within the organization has actually identified them, they go build some controls or build some rules to identify these gaps. And then comes the threat emulation. This is also a very challenging activity in a corporate, where this actually mimics the work of a threat adversary. If we are able to match the threat adversary's mindset, we could perform these attacks, and this would be also from the external to internal. It is not happening within the internal network to internal asset. It would be happening from the internet. The attack would be performed by the security expert on the internal targets, and then identify if they are able to successfully breach into that network, and see how much they can access it and how much data they can collect from it. Just that would all be having a governance of the activity, so that data collected would not go outside of the infrastructure. So with this, they would know that the attacker would or the ethical hacker would actually have a detailed report of the methodology and the attack techniques that they use, and with that the controls would be built on top of it to identify the gaps. So yeah, and then finally the vulnerability assessment. So as I already said, vulnerability assessment happens periodically for the regulations that the business are doing. So it is basically to run different types of scans on the machine, and then see how much of the report actually that generates a true positive or a potentially um, vulnerable cases that it can identify. And then based on the security experts investigation of those vulnerabilities, then the risk or the patch management system happens, and critical machines will be patched immediately, and likewise the next severity would be patched subsequent release. And then this was a periodic scan that would happen, and this is actually a dedicated team that would be doing these activities. And then comes static code analysis. So for this, the coding knowledge is very much required to understand how the code actually works and how the logic flows. So basically it would be Java, iOS, or any Android. So any particular code it can scan. So these are static code analysis tool, where the exact code would be placed in the machine or in the tool, and then it would be running some scans on it. So this is the underlying framework for this is the OASP. So if you know OASP well, then you would come across a lot of the top 10 vulnerabilities and other vulnerabilities that are there for a given operating system or given coding language. And this tool would give you those information as a finding from the scan. So what the security expert would do in this case is he would be analyzing the code, whatever piece of code that it flags as suspicious. They would have to understand the code, see how the logic flows, if there is any user input that comes and it's not being properly validated. All those types of checks would be performed by the analyst and then sent back to the developer team to actually go and fix any potentially vulnerable piece of code. And then once that is done, then it comes back again to security team, and the security team would actually be the one who would say that, okay, now this particular tool is actually in good shape and it can go to production. Till the time security team is not giving okay, none of the projects go to production. It would not be circling down back and forth to development security team. So this is the static analysis where the code would be analyzed for the coverage. If somebody has a question, okay. The next is similar to that, but it's a dynamic testing where penetration testing activities are done. So this would either be on a web application or a network. So it would be this is a Burp Suite. So I'm sure Burp Suite also most of you guys should have explored it. So this is also a best industry tool where it's being used very frequently by the best pen testing team to see the dynamic behavior of the website or of the network. So once it's done, like the web application may give us a lot of information that it should not give actually, but a lot of those data would be exposed in some cases, or in some cases the user's input may not be sanitized properly and it might go hit the backend and collect a lot of sensitive information as well. So, or there is a lot of XSS, CSRF, all those types of attacks would be simulated using these tools and see how those websites actually response back. And based on what the finding is, the controls and other mitigation steps follows that to like mitigate those risks. Yeah, so these are different types of industry best tools that are being used, and it would be very common that these tools are being used in any given company for a security team. So which companies actually are looking for cybersecurity people? So this is actually a good place where nowadays, since the digital era, a lot of missions and a lot of business are happening on the cloud, on the internet. Like there are opportunities worldwide on any given industry. So even if you take manufacturing industry, even if you take electrical grid industry, everything is now communicating to the internet. So there is always a requirement for cybersecurity people on any given industry. So it is not that we are confined to um, certain industry. It's not like how developers or how the business specific roles happen. Ours is a broad area, and cybersecurity requirement is there on any given business. So finding a company that suits you is one of the key things. So for that, we need to be equipped with a lot of information that our core concept should be very strong, and the medium where to find job right now for cybersecurity is LinkedIn. And make sure that you are little active on LinkedIn and just showcase to the world that what you are doing um, for your self learning. I'm sure that a fresher would have only certain level of hands-on experience, but it's okay. Like if we are like projecting ourselves that we are pursuing this interest and we are working on certain things, we should make sure that the world knows, so that people come and reach out to us and we get a lot of opportunities. And the path, so the career path of cyber, if somebody has a question, yeah, you can ask me. If not, we'll have that at the end. So career path of cybersecurity is also very crucial because the starting point can be in any vertical or any domain of security domain. So just first we should identify what we are good at it. because some of the areas require good coding knowledge, good scripting knowledge. So we should make sure what we are very much comfortable of. But at the initial, we might not have the option to choose a path within cybersecurity. We should get in and then adapt ourselves to like uh, excel on that. But it's better that we also we as a bare minimum requirement, we should know a scripting language, either Python or a shell. Python is little easy compared to any other, so Python is actually good for initial learning, and then understand any given code like object oriented based language like C++ or Java or .NET. So it is better that we understand how the code flow works, because as I already showed in one of the tool, right? So the main key area of the security team of that domain is to understand code. So in order to understand code, we must know how code works. So knowledge on that is very much essential. And in order to like do penetration testing, or in order to do reverse engineering or malware analysis, even there sometimes we need code to actually go and hit the system and analyze that. So a knowledge, basic knowledge of coding is actually very essential. And in order to like have ourselves equipped with some certification, it's always better that we choose a vendor neutral certification, so that it can apply. It only has the concepts and it shows that you are conceptually you are good. Some of these are like for an entry level, it's good that Security Plus or CH is widely accepted and very renowned. But other than CH, like any of those four can work. So with this, a good career into cybersecurity can be formed, but it's not necessary that certification has to be done very prior, because it's accepted in the industry nowadays that people, though people don't have a, certification initially, their concept will be analyzed, and they only see how conceptually you're good. If you are understanding all the concepts, if you are understanding how threats actually happen and how certain threat actors actually like do stuff, keep yourself updated on any attacks that happen and know how it's actually done. So those information would actually be very much useful, and the recruiters or the interview panel would actually understand that first and not see what all certifications a person has done in the initial stage of the career. So that's about it. And for self learning, I've given some links. It's good that you all try it out. I'll share this PPT also. And now you can ask me any question and I'll be happy to answer them.
One student, they have asked your LinkedIn profile actually.
Sure. I'll pass it on. I'll put it in the PPT and I'll share the PPT with you so you can send it across to everyone.
Yeah. Any other questions, students? If you have any questions, you have no access to speak actually, so that you can even post in the chat box. So through chat box,
Okay. Anybody can share any question that you have?
No questions?
Hello, sir.
Yep.
Sir, can you tell us about tech support scams that's happening in like West Bengal and Delhi, sir?
Tech support scan, huh?
Yeah, like
Okay.
pop-up scams, sir. Like they are imitating like Microsoft and Amazon, and they're like getting money from people.
Okay, so that's something like the same that I talked about earlier. So it is that it's kind of like phishing. So people actually tend to like behave themselves as a reputed vendor, and then they send out email. So there are a lot of actually, if you receive any email that you are not aware of, right? In even in the industry, so what people will do is, let's say that I receive a phishing email. and I might not know initially that is a phishing email, right? So if I see that that particular email is from an untrusted person, or if I'm not expecting any email from that source, then I would actually, as a employee, they would be sending that email to the security team for analyzing that. So what the security team would do is they would be getting that email as an actual email itself, and then they will analyze the header of it. So there are a lot of tools that gives like online tools that even in there is a site called MX Toolbox, where you can go and put in the header of the email. So you can collect the header from, if you any email it might be, you can collect the header of it. It might be huge data in that. So if you go and put it in that site, it will give you who has forwarded it, whether there is any referrer, whether there is any another email ID that's associated with that source, and if there is any middle IP from where it's actually taking a route and coming. So all those information would be helpful for analyzing a particular email to confirm the legitimacy of the email. So even in my slide, in the self-learning, I've given two links where you can actually go and check if a particular email ID has been compromised, or whether there is any whether a particular email ID is actually valid or not. So these types of links are even used in the companies where it's all open source. So for analyzing, we can go and investigate them on any open source forum also, and identify the reputation or identify the legitimacy of the email, and then take a call. So that particular scenario is also similar to that. So it's like hitting people, and without proper user awareness, right? People will tend to respond, or they might not know the serious impact of what data they are giving out. So even a small piece of information, let's say that he's giving only username, or he's giving some internal employee ID, then in some other way the attacker would again try to get or understand the sequence of email ID, or sequence of employee ID, or sequence of password that people are setting. So with that, they try to brute force and collect or get into that environment and collect information. So this is how generically it's happening. So
Thank you.
that's suppose what's happening there also.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah. Any other questions?
One student asked in chat box, is there any programming knowledge is needed to be a cyber security expert?
Okay, so programming language, yes, there is a requirement, but it's not a mandatory requirement, because not all the security teams would be needing the requirement of coding it. But it is always better that we understand the code, and we are able to write some level of coding. So Python, try to learn Python. That's one of the major requirement nowadays. Even in the interviews for a fresher, they might ask uh, up to certain level. It's not like it is you need to know at least intermediate. Is not like that. You need to know some basic things of coding. So it can be any coding, but make sure you understand scripting, and you understand either a Java or a .NET to read. Writing code is another thing that's not that much required, but Python alone, or any shell scripting, try to write some code and practice it, so that it will be very helpful for you in actual work.
Question from my side, Siddharth. Actually, the
Yeah.
thing is internship has been provided in various IT companies. So the
Hmm.
same way internships are being provided even in cybersecurity companies.
Yeah.
So we need certain cybersecurity companies where they could provide internship for our students, so that once after getting trained in the internship through their performance, they can get placed over there. So can
Okay.
you refer such a companies who can provide internships also?
Yeah, actually, there are different types of internships that are being provided in industry. So major two type is um, that we enroll ourselves and pay some money to some organization and get internship. And what they in turn will do is they would actually, based on our performance, they would be referring referring the candidate, or they would be referring that person to their clients. And after interview, they would take them. Another thing is we can go and approach to big four companies like Deloitte, like Google, like Facebook, like any other big four companies. We can go and reach them. But the thing is, they would be seeing our profile. So we should make sure that we have a very good profile, because right now the industry is actually shortage of cybersecurity people. So not many companies are giving internship on that, because they don't have the time to like train somebody on that line. Okay, so that's one of the constraint right now. In Chennai, there are very less companies who are offering internships in cybersecurity, because cybersecurity in Chennai is not that much good. So either it should be in Bangalore, or it should be in Mumbai, or in Delhi, where it's actually good. Even in Hyderabad, there are a lot of cybersecurity companies there. But majorly, we should target Google, Microsoft, Facebook, and all these types of big companies. But they would definitely see our profile, because we would be sharing our profile with them. So they need to know if uh, the candidate is worth giving internship for. So we should, that's why I was saying, we should make sure that we should let the people in the wild know that we are doing something in this domain out of our interest. So we should be building our profile good. So either small projects we should work, or small tools that we can develop, or anything that we do, we should be making sure that we put it in our resume, or share it in LinkedIn, like a small article or something, so that people will be aware that okay, this person is very much enthusiastic and he is doing a lot of stuff. So let me give them the opportunity. So now it's like that. But hopefully in future, a lot of opportunities, and a lot of opportunities for especially internship. I'm saying internship would come for cybersecurity. But right now the options are very less. Yeah, I'll try to share some of the data with you after some research. Then maybe that you can share with the students.
Yeah, sure, sure. So I hope there is no more questions. So HOD ma'am has gone for a present meeting, so she is there down.
Okay.
So thank you for spending your valuable time with that. Meeting you in virtual mode is also been pleasure after a long
Yeah.
time.
Same this side. Thanks for connecting. And
Yeah, just a formal vote of thanks is there. So after that, we'll
yeah,
just
sure.
wind up the session.
Okay, sure.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Siddharth sir, for spending your valuable time with us by giving informative knowledge about cybersecurity. Now I call upon Vasundhara from B.Tech CFIS second years to give vote of thanks.
A warm and graceful afternoon to all. I am Vasundhara from second year CFIS. On behalf of all students and staff, I am glad to be here to express my vote of thanks. Finally, I would like to thank our management for letting us experience this event. A special thanks to our guest speaker, Mr. G. Siddharth sir, for accepting our invitation and for being here with us today. Your words were truly informative. Thank you, sir. Sincere thanks to Dr. S. Geeta ma'am and additional HOD Dr. S. Mogandas sir and Deputy HOD sir Mr. Said Ali sir of our department for supporting and guiding us always. Thank you ma'am. Thank you sir. Our special mention to the organizing secretary Dr. M. Manigandan sir and Mrs. U. Indimati ma'am who handled the event in the best way. I thank our association convenes Dr. G. Victor Sudama and Mr. S. Praveen Kumar sir for support and guidance. I extend my sincere gratitude to all our teaching and non-teaching staff for their generous support. A big thanks to all the participants who made this event a grand success. Once again, thank you all.
Thank you, Vasundhara. Feedback link and attendance link is posted in the box. I request all the students to fill without pay. Thank you.
Thank you so
Thank you,
much and
Siddharth.
all the best to every student. Hopefully
Thank
next
you.
time I
Thank you
can
so
come
much.